eye pokes usually result in a win. But not this time. Waldo Cortes Acosta took an eye poke in what seemed to have finished the fight, which is quite odd to say, but we have seen this before. Looked like Delija became the first to finish Waldo, and potentially getting a top contender next was such a monumental win like that. First round finish, but the replay highlighted that there was an eye poke. I was worried they were going to keep the finish for Ante Delija because he should not have won off of that. Or they were going to make that a no contest, not a disqualification. They didn't even take a point away from Delija when they resumed the fight, so that conveys that they were going to refrain from a disqualification too. But they gave Waldo the opportunity to continue, and he does. He perseveres. They resumed the fight only for him to get a karmic finish against Ante Delija of all fighters, who is Tom Aspinall's training partner. And then Waldo calls Tom out for a fight. It seemed like he was throwing a jab at Tom for not continuing after the eye poke the way he just did. And man, the narrative against Tom is unfortunately strengthening after that. There's a lot of people, even fighters, who are saying this is the way you handle eye pokes and throwing jabs at Tom Aspinall for not showing the same level of toughness as Waldo Cortes Acosta. That's the narrative, even amongst fighters, which is insane. Even though I still think that Tom was still right in calling off the fight with his vision impaired, you know? I don't view it as a dichotomy that one way to handle it is positive and the other is negative. I think a fighter is reasonable if they refuse to continue due to being blinded from a foul. But I also respect a fighter who continues win or lose. Pulling off a win though, that's extraordinary. You don't normally see fighters win a fight, especially knocking them out after getting eye poked. Also to note, Ante Delija may have jinxed himself because, as being Tom's training partner, on fight week he talked about how he has never poked anybody in the eye in his 33 fight career, essentially criticizing Cyril Gane for eye poking Tom, only for himself to eye poke his opponent in the very first round as well. How did this happen a week after the Tom Aspinall fight? On the very next card, including his training partner, dude. I still think Tom's decision to stop the fight was reasonable if he really couldn't see. And he says that his vision still hasn't recovered. So while believing Tom's decision was reasonable, I still admire Waldo's toughness and his persistence to continue the fight and then pull off a win, which is so difficult to do. He was compromised from the eye poke and still scored the knockout win. So the sequence is actually very interesting, as firstly, eye pokes in the heavier divisions can be even more catastrophic with the amount of power that these guys are hurling at each other. It can result in a very quick knockout. I mean, look how quickly the fight turned around. If Waldo wasn't so durable, he could have been KO'd against the fence, not able to withstand the power of Delija, but Waldo is so durable that he could take shots from Sergey Pavlovich of all fighters. That chin held up there against the fence, but the barrage seemingly ended the fight in what was originally thought to be a TKO finish. It was very difficult to see the eye poke in real time. It was very quick, and Waldo went to parry that same hand, making it look like it was a punch. But the parry connects after he got eye poked, and you can see that in the replay. The bird's eye angle makes it look like, potentially he moved his hand into his eye, contributing to the eye poke. But then this camera angle shows that the parry only connects after the eye poke, not before it. The referee steps in between them. Ante Delija is celebrating, only for them to check the replay, see if Waldo's okay to continue. He gives them the affirmation that he's all right, and they continue. And then Ante Delija realizes that the fight is still on. Now, the commentators were saying how they felt bad for Delija, that he may have had an adrenaline dump, which could have been true, but at the same time, you can't feel bad for Delija. He poked him in the eye. Last week's main event ended because of one, only for the co-main event of the next card to nearly end because of one too. I cannot feel bad for Ante Delija getting an adrenaline dump due to him believing that he finished Waldo stemming from an eye poke. So as they continued, there was a noticeable shift in Waldo's demeanor. There was a great distinction with the way Waldo approached the resumption of the fight and the beginning of the fight, where he was fighting on the back foot. Ante Delija was putting on the pressure with his jabs and got Waldo to the fence. Even at one point, he kept his foot on the fence. He could have possibly tried to push off of it and throw some big punch forward, but it looked like he was just waiting for a counter shot for, maybe Delija to blitz in so that he can counter him. Ante Delija's striking style is heavy on speed blitzing his opponent. He's rather light for the weight class, and he has a natural speed advantage against most of his opponents. Delija's speed is impressive for a heavyweight, and his pressure approach was apparent, so the fight before the eye poke saw a lot of pressure from Ante Delija and more of a focused counter-striking style, it seemed like, from Waldo Cortes Acosta. But after the eye poke, Waldo approached it with much more aggravation. He was angry as he started to push forward immediately through a big body punch, applying pressure as Delija circled to reverse their positions, taking advantage of Waldo's plodding footwork. Delija was going to have that speed advantage, as well as fighting with better footwork. Generally enough, just circling around Waldo was enough for them to reverse the position. So now Waldo is in a similar place that he was before. His back is close to the fence. And with the familiar position, he reverted back to that counter style. And Ante Delija throws a very quick jab, lands the punch directly into the right eye. Clean shot and whiplashes, blasting Waldo's head away. And Waldo tanks the shot, easily walks straight through it, and blasts Delija with a right overhand, dropping him immediately. Finishing the fight with ground and pound, and that was pretty much it. Now, another reason as to why there could have been a shift in the pressure prior to the eye poke and then after the eye poke may have been from also Delija perhaps having an adrenaline dump, but it's no excuse. He poked him in the eye. It was a great win for Waldo Cortes Acosta, and he was in agonizing pain afterward too. Just an astounding win against the favorite. Ante Delija was favored to win this. He had a lot of momentum from his UFC debut, but I don't know if I would consider it a hype train derail because I think Delija is a very good fighter and is probably going to get some other good wins. And it just goes to show how good Waldo is. He's a tough fighter, one of the few fighters to get eye poked in and proceed to win afterward. There's been others too, like Rumble Johnson actually won a few fights after getting eye poked. It's a very rare occurrence. For those who continue to fight and then pull off a win deserve all of the respect. It's an amazing win for Waldo Cortes Acosta. Now, he's not going to get the Tom Aspinall fight. Maybe they fight in the future, but I don't see him beating someone like Aspinall. Waldo is a good fighter, but I think fighters like Aspinall, Gane, and Volkov are fighting at a different level. I mean, he lost to Sergey Pavlovich, right? Now, it is MMA math that Volkov and Aspinall both beat Pavlovich. I still think that his boxing style is not necessarily efficient to fight those three elite heavyweights. I think Volkov and Gane would be tougher than Aspinall due to them having better striking defense, but Aspinall has the grappling, he's the more well-rounded fighter. It would be interesting to see them fight in the future, and I think it will happen if Aspinall doesn't fight out his contract and go to boxing or something, you know? If Alexander Volkov wants to fight somebody in the meantime, as Tom and Cyril Gane get their rescheduled fight, a fight with Waldo could be a good one. But if not, I think Waldo should fight like Curtis Blades or something. And as for Ante Delija, I would like to see him fight Sergey Spivak. That would be an interesting fight. I was about to just like look over the fact that an eye poke affected a fight again. They become so normal now. Herb Dean did say that they're going to be discussing how to fix this issue. It seems like in every fight card, there's eye pokes like this. They need a solution. Automatic point deductions, which should have happened here, by the way. Ante Delija should have gotten a point taken away before they continue that fight. And the other thing they have to do are purse reductions. If they implement both of those, I believe it will solve most of this eye poke issue. I mean, even if it's not as strict as that, let's say they make it so that the first foul gets a warning, then the second one is a point deduction, and then the third is a disqualification or something. I don't know, but Herb Dean specifically said that they're going to try to fix eye pokes instead of fouls as a collective. Even if they go that direction, anything better than what they have currently is a step in the right direction to the point, hopefully, where they go to automatic point deductions for the more impactful fouls like eye pokes and low blows. So I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown, and make sure to give the video a like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next video.